Ah, there you are. I was beginning to think you changed your mind. Ready? Excellent. Because I'm not. But that hardly matters. See that over there? Put this on. Yes, I'm serious. We're going there. Paris. August, 1348. Something important is beginning there. Inside the beak. Lavender, vinegar, mint, camphor. Replace it every 3 hours. Does it work? No. But local physicians believe it does. And right now, that matters more. Ready? Welcome to Paris. August, 1348. The plague has been here exactly 1 week. So far, everything still looks almost normal. Almost. Watch your step. That is medieval sanitation. Waste gets thrown straight out the windows. That ditch over there is the city sewer. The pigs aren't here by accident. They eat the garbage. People consider that normal. The rats too. Wait, do you see that? Dead rats. 3 days ago, there were none. Nobody pays attention. They should. Yersinia pestis kills rats faster than humans. The rats die first. And when a rat dies, the fleas look for a new host. And they find one. The plague spent nearly a year traveling here. Marseille, last autumn. Then Montpellier, Bordeaux, Rouen. Entire districts died within 2 weeks. Rumors arrived months ahead of it. Paris, 200,000 people. The largest city in Northern Europe, people believed they would be spared. They weren't. That man over there is explaining to his neighbors that the planets are responsible. And this wasn't merely street gossip. The Faculty of Medicine in Paris, the most respected medical institution in Europe, published an official treatise. The official scientific position, a rare conjunction of Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars in 1345 poisoned the air. The finest physicians of the age wrote that. Not ignorance. The limit of human knowledge at the time. Nobody knows bacteria exist. The word itself will not appear for another 500 years. Yesterday, the market was full. Do you know who left first? The king. Philip VI of Valois fled Paris last week. After him, the nobility. University scholars. Judges. The city administration is paralyzed. No one left to make decisions. No one left to organize relief. Those who remain are on their own. Did you see that? They didn't touch him. People instinctively sense that contact is dangerous. They don't know why. They simply feel it. This is not panic. It's something worse. People are beginning to understand. Do you hear that? Inside that house lives a family of 6. All sleeping in the same room. The air barely moves. At night, the hearth burns, leaving even less oxygen. They wake up with headaches every morning. They think it's the smoke. Partly. But chronic stress suppresses the immune system. Sleep deprivation slows recovery. The plague hasn't reached that house yet. But they are already weakened. That house was boarded shut yesterday. The Red Cross means infection. The neighbors simply stopped coming. Nobody explained anything. They simply stopped. Merchants stopped entering the city 2 days ago. Look, one bread seller. A line stretching half a block. Bread prices doubled in a week. No fresh meat. The fish is nearly gone. Vegetables are finished. Hunger changes people quickly. Faster than most realize. See those 2 men. They've been neighbors for 10 years, shared the same well. Today, one accused the other of spreading the disease. No evidence. Only fear and hunger. That's how social bonds collapse. Not all at once. One thread at a time. And that fire over there, they're burning belongings from infected homes. The logic is correct, the execution is random. Ironically, the smoke partially worked. It drove away fleas. But nobody knew that. They burn things out of fear. There are more rats now. Far more. Nobody is counting. A merchant lives here. His name is Pierre. 42 years old. Strong. 5 days ago, he felt exhausted. Assumed he was overworked. 4 days ago, sudden fever. Severe headache. Joint pain. 3 days ago, the buboes appeared. This is how bubonic plague works. Yersinia pestis enters the bloodstream through a flea bite. Incubation period, 1 to 7 days. The victim has no idea he is infected. Then, sudden onset. Fever reaching 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Chills. Headache. And then, the buboes. See the swelling beneath his arm. An inflamed lymph node. The lymphatic system is trying to stop the bacteria, and becomes inflamed itself. A bubo can grow to the size of a chicken egg. Sometimes larger. Hard. Hot. Excruciatingly painful to the touch. They usually appear where lymph nodes are largest: groin, armpits, neck. And this is not the only form. Pneumonic plague, bacteria in the lungs. Airborne transmission, kills within 1 to 3 days. Almost without exception. Septicemic plague, infection of the bloodstream. Can kill within hours. The victim dies before symptoms fully appear. Pierre has the bubonic form. There is a chance he survives. Doctors have already visited. They recommended bloodletting, releasing the bad blood. It only weakened the patient further. They also recommended pressing live chickens against the buboes. The chickens died. New ones were tied on. Without antibiotics, mortality from bubonic plague ranges between 30 and 60%. Pierre will survive until morning. Probably. Do you see them? Flagellants. They travel from city to city publicly whipping themselves. The logic goes like this: God is punishing humanity for its sins. If they inflict enough pain on themselves, perhaps he will show mercy. At first, the church supported them. Later, it banned them. Too late. They had already passed through 200 cities, and carried plague into every one of them. Do you know the strangest thing about catastrophes? The body lasts longer than the mind. 2 or 3 weeks of fear, sleeplessness, and uncertainty due to the brain. What disease does to the body. Chronic stress shuts down rational decision-making. People begin operating on instinct. Searching for explanations. Searching for someone to blame. In dozens of European cities, Jewish quarters were attacked. People were accused of poisoning wells. No evidence. Only the desperate need for a culprit. This is not hatred alone. It is a shattered nervous system trying to regain control where none exists. Have you noticed you no longer react to the bells? That's normal too. The brain adapts to repeated stimuli. Even the sound of death. Psychologists call it desensitization. People here simply call it life. The carts begin moving at dawn, deliberately, while most people are asleep. So they won't see. The city cemeteries overflowed by the 3rd week. Mass graves had to be dug outside the walls. Bodies were laid in layers. Jean de Venette, a Carmelite monk and eyewitness, wrote, "The living was scarcely able to bury the dead." Not metaphorically, literally. In Avignon, residence of the Pope, the Rhône River was consecrated. Simply so bodies could be thrown directly into the water. Because there was no time left to bury them, Pope Clement VI survived. His physician seated him between 2 enormous fires. The heat and smoke drove away fleas. He didn't know why it worked, but it worked. And this was the hidden trap of the epidemic. Clean water barely exists. Wells are contaminated with sewage. High fever causes severe dehydration. And there is almost nothing safe to drink. Many die not from plague itself, but from dehydration caused by fever. Medieval medicine never understood the connection. Not at all. The Black Death killed between 30 and 60% of Europe's population. Between 25 and 50 million people. In 7 years. In some cities, every second person survived. In others, only 1 in 10. After the epidemic, governments attempted to freeze wages by law. There were too few workers left alive. Survivors demanded higher pay. Authorities issued decrees, imposed fines. The market ignored them. The state could do almost nothing. Peasants and craftsmen gained leverage they had never possessed before. The feudal system began to crack. Demographic recovery took more than a century. But from that crisis, a different world emerged. Well then, have you seen enough? And next time, don't be late. There are still many places waiting for us.